here we go. So, this is just going to be a quick sort of how to play Marines thing. Start off is real simple. You don't need much sort of APM to play this. This is quite a sort of slower game. The just important things are that as soon as you get into the game, you get 2 of these harvesters going. You get this guy scouting as soon as possible. Then you wait till the time I've started going with now is 25 to build a heavy factory. Other people have slightly different sort of ways they time it. Some people do it by time. Some people do it by where this guy is in relation to getting to the place he needs to harvest. Generally, sort of, you can do it as early as 20. You can honestly do it as late as around 40, and you still probably won't be too far down. But I'd say don't do it any later than this guy is already harvesting, because there's no point. The reason you slow it down is just because you don't quite have enough money early game because of how expensive everything is. So the next thing you make is this power generator, and you can instantly start making ogres as soon as this is done. My guy died. I did not hold that enough. Obviously you can try and do harassment like I did, or you can just leave it alone. As soon as your power plant's done, you then go for this. This is the resource expander. You need 1 resource expander, and in some games, on some maps, if you get late game enough, sometimes it's nice to get a second. But normally you don't actually need to. Normally you don't actually need to. Normally 1 is absolutely fine. So the reason I'm building this position is you want to get your buildings off of this high ground kind of soon, I think, so that you can start moving out, holding more ground. For example, if I have all my buildings here, it's harder for me to sort of hold this area over here. I don't have as much vision, I don't have as much blocking, and I can get this army out here faster. So the next thing you build is this barracks, and as soon as you started building a barracks, you can start building the harvester. Once you have this, with just ogres producing, you have enough for a harvester. It means that when the barracks finishes, you can't afford any Marines until this harvester is finished, but just let the harvester finish. Overall, if you do it right, I've done it a bit slow, so I'm probably gonna, lose out on a couple of Marines that could have been in my army. But if you do it as soon as your stuff finishes, if this is all on point, then you only lose what would be 1 Marine essentially. This is getting very sloppy because I'm trying to think and talk, but the next thing you do is a power generator. Luckily I don't recognize this guy's name, and he had a bad positioning on his barracks, so I'm going to assume he's new. I'm going to send a couple ogres back to deal with that. Don't need any Marines to go. So after you've done this, you can then build this. I don't know what it's called. Research lab. It's your upgrade to Tech 2, essentially. So I've also let these slip because I'm trying to talk. This no longer has ended up being a good example, does it? It's hard trying to think and talk at the same time. I'm not the greatest streamer yet. But yeah, so this basically here, if you don't wait the long gaps I've been doing while I've been trying to talk, and you don't accidentally let your production slip, this is basically how it should be done. And this start can stay the same most games. There are certain times when you will want to change it, but generally they can be the same. This is also the most common next step, although depending on what you're against in this matchup, it might be better to go for another factory because they're not likely to have air. They're not likely to have any dangerous air, at least yet. So it'd probably be better to just go for a factory here. Also, as soon as that's finished, you can start making these manticores. Drone works complete. Then when your drone work's finished, 2 gremlins I like, and then against most people just go straight into wyvern production. Against armies where you might be fighting against air, it's sometimes good to build 5 shrikes first. look, see, this is the mistake that a lot of newer players do when playing this, is that they make Shrikes versus Marines, and I like do not care about his Shrikes. My Marines are going to kill them because that's how their target priority goes, but honestly, I could have afforded to even not. But yeah, this here is essentially the basic opening for any Marine game. And then after this, you can just build production and power whenever you need it, essentially. It's quite rare, actually, that you even need to tech up much more than that. So I'm going to send this over here, just fuck with him, try and keep these hitting that, because those things actually will damage my Marines and stuff, but my ogres are long enough range to stay out of their range. And I mean, I have so much stuff now that, I mean, I just win. So I hope that was helpful. I might later want to do a sort of more organized version where I actually don't make so many mistakes, and can show you a bit of a better example. I might try and just record a game without my talking and then talk over it later or something to make it more efficient. But for now, I think this is a good start to showing you the main way to play Marines. If I was continuing on this game, if this game was going later, keep up a good group of Harpies, especially against stuff with lots of infantry that you can AoE into. Once you have a good enough group of Harpies, like around, once you've got like higher than 5, between 5 and 10, when you get to 10 you can normally stop, go back to Marines, mainly build Manticores. You normally want to keep, especially against people who like Lightbringers, who will have a lot of crushable stuff in their army even quite late, you want to have a group of ogres to be able to push them forward, but normally you don't need them. Against stuff with heavy air, especially stuff that will harass you, you'll want Shrikes. Like I said, you want to go a few Shrikes early. But apart from that, you just make Riverins. And make sure you always have 2 to 4 of the little healing Medibot things, which I don't know the name of. So yeah, I'm going to highlight that from my stream, and hopefully that will be a useful little video for some people to get into how to play Marines.